Canadian man accused of stalking WWE's Liv Morgan seeks pre-trial release again. Sean Chan, the Canadian man accused of stalking WWE superstar Liv Morgan, has filed a fresh motion requesting pre-trial release, just days after a Florida judge denied his initial attempt to regain freedom. Chan, who has been held in custody since June 2025, is now challenging the court's earlier decision, asserting that his continued detention is both unnecessary and unwarranted. His latest motion was officially submitted on September 17 before the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida, reigniting a case that has garnered significant media attention due to the high-profile nature of the alleged victim. In the motion, Chan's legal team contends that the court erred in determining he poses a serious flight risk or danger to the community. They argue that the government has failed to prove that no combination of release conditions could reasonably ensure his appearance in court. They further claim that the magistrate judge misapplied the law when weighing the potential risk Chan might pose to Liv Morgan's safety. According to the filing, the defense is adamant that Chan has no criminal record, has lawfully entered the United States, and does not have any history of drug or alcohol abuse, factors they believe make him an unlikely candidate to flee the country. Even in the event of deportation, the motion asserts, Chan would simply return to his home country of Canada, further diminishing any supposed risk of evasion. The defense also seeks to draw attention to what they describe as weaknesses in the government's case. Central to their argument is Chan's mental health, particularly his diagnosis of a delusional disorder. According to the defense, Chan sincerely believed he had a friendly and personal relationship with Liv Morgan, a belief that was entirely mistaken but sincere in its intent. They argue that this delusional mindset undercuts any suggestion that Chan intended to harass or intimidate Morgan, which is a crucial component of the charges he faces. The legal team contends that this condition may ultimately hinder the prosecution's ability to prove mens rea or criminal intent, a necessary element for conviction. To address concerns about Liv Morgan's safety and comply with court expectations, Chan's attorneys have proposed a set of strict pre-trial release conditions. These include mandatory participation in court-ordered mental health treatment, monitoring through a GPS device, and a stay-away order that would prohibit him from coming into contact with Morgan under any circumstances. They argue that such measures would adequately mitigate any perceived risk, allowing Chan to await trial outside of detention while still protecting the alleged victim. This motion follows the denial of a previous request for pre-trial release in early September, where a federal judge ruled that Chan's proposed plan to reside at a Salvation Army facility did not constitute a significant change in circumstances. At the time, the court cited findings from a mental health evaluation, which revealed Chan's persistent delusional fixation on Morgan. The judge wrote that this mental state justified continued detention, emphasizing that the defendant's psychological condition increased rather than decreased the need for confinement. Chan's legal team is now hoping that the new motion, which challenges both the legal reasoning and factual basis for his detention, will be evaluated more favorably. They argue that the prior decision failed to fully consider Chan's lack of criminal history, the non-violent nature of the alleged charges, and the potential for controlled release with monitoring. The attorneys maintain that while Chan's disorder may explain his actions, it does not demonstrate criminal intent or a deliberate effort to threaten or intimidate Morgan. Experts in criminal law note that motions like Chan's are not uncommon in high-profile cases, especially when mental health issues intersect with alleged criminal behavior. Courts often balance the potential risk to the community and the likelihood of flight against an individual's personal circumstances, criminal history, and proposed plans for pre-trial release. In this instance, Chan's legal team is attempting to tip that balance in their client's favor by emphasizing his compliance history, ties to Canada, and willingness to adhere to strict court-imposed restrictions. While the defense frames Chan's mental health as a mitigating factor, the prosecution argues that it strengthens the case for continued detention. Federal authorities maintain that Chan's delusional fixation demonstrates a persistent and dangerous obsession with Morgan, creating a tangible threat that cannot be fully mitigated outside of jail. Prosecutors contend that releasing him, even under strict supervision, could compromise the safety and well-being of the WWE star, highlighting the challenges courts face in cases involving both mental health and allegations of stalking. The upcoming hearing, scheduled for Friday, September 26, will allow both the prosecution and defense to present arguments regarding Chan's continued detention. During this session, the judge will review the new motion in detail, considering whether the proposed pretrial release conditions are sufficient to mitigate any risks. Legal observers anticipate that the court will weigh the evidence of Chan's mental health, the strength of the government's case, and the potential impact on the alleged victim when rendering a decision. This case has drawn significant attention due to the prominence of the alleged victim, Liv Morgan, who has a large public profile as a WWE superstar. Media coverage has amplified the scrutiny on both the legal proceedings and the broader issues surrounding stalking, mental health, and the U.S. justice system's approach to high-profile cases. In the context of public safety and mental health advocacy, the Chan case underscores the complex legal questions that arise when an individual's psychiatric condition intersects with alleged criminal behavior against a well-known figure. Chan's legal strategy emphasizes his willingness to comply with court-imposed conditions and treatment plans, portraying him as a person who does not pose an unmanageable risk to society. By highlighting his lack of prior criminal activity, law-abiding entry into the United States, and the delusional nature of his belief in a personal relationship with Morgan, the defense aims to create reasonable doubt about the necessity of continued pretrial detention. The motion seeks to persuade the court that, under controlled circumstances, Chan can await trial without jeopardizing the safety of others or the integrity of the judicial process. Meanwhile, the prosecution remains steadfast in their position, asserting that the nature of Chan's obsession makes pretrial release inappropriate. Prosecutors argue that the stakes are higher given Morgan's visibility and the potential for harassment, whether intentional or resulting from Chan's delusional disorder. They maintain that detention is justified not only to protect Morgan, but also to ensure that Chan remains available for trial, preventing any risk of flight or further incidents. As the case moves toward the September 26 hearing, legal analysts are closely monitoring the arguments from both sides. Questions surrounding the interplay between mental health diagnoses, criminal intent, and public safety are likely to dominate the discussion. Additionally, the court's decision will set a precedent for how similar cases might be treated in the future, particularly those involving alleged stalking of high-profile individuals and the role of mental health assessments in determining pretrial detention. The outcome of this motion will have immediate implications for Chan's circumstances and the ongoing legal proceedings. Should the court grant pretrial release under strict conditions, Chan could await trial outside of custody, subject to monitoring and compliance with court-mandated restrictions. Conversely, if the motion is denied, Chan will remain in detention until his case progresses, continuing to face legal scrutiny and limited freedom. Regardless of the ruling, the hearing will provide insight into how the federal judiciary balances individual rights, public safety, and mental health considerations in complex criminal cases. As this high-profile case continues to unfold, it highlights the challenges the legal system faces in managing defendants with mental health issues, particularly when allegations involve public figures. The Chan case not only tests the boundaries of pretrial detention law, but also underscores the importance of carefully evaluating psychiatric evidence, intent, and risk assessment in determining appropriate measures for both defendants and victims.